this website, each time you refresh, it displays it in a different order. It is a random order. So there is no such thing as alphabetical, no such thing as seniority, and it is not very difficult stuff to do. And the people in green, I'll tell you what the significance is as we move along. Once again, another part of our web page is members who recently visited, who logged into our site. And here once again we go with privacy rules. When they do, just like with PMI, My PMI, there's a box, I agree to have my photograph displayed. And default it is off. They have to go and actually say yes. And these pictures that it will get, both for recently visited and for volunteers, it will only be people who have agreed to have their images displayed. And each time you log on, it is a different image. So that is on our new website. Once again, this was, I already showed you this picture. This was the May 2011 issue of PMI Today. This is the May 2012 issue, where I'm going to spend a little while reading this out. This was about our conference. This was an article about our conference. Volunteerism at its best. A dedicated team of 31 worked diligently to ensure the best possible experience for conference attendees. Although 35% of the team was composed of first-time volunteers, the entire group worked excellently together. Total dedication, seamless sharing of tasks, team members taking total ownership, relentless attention to detail were some of the great contributing factors in conference success. And then we said, unbelievably, and this was true, I was flabbergasted, the entire team stayed a full 4 hours after the event for a lessons learned session. It ended at 5:30. We were there almost till 10, where we first spoke about some 30 good things we did. Our regular project lessons learned session even doesn't go this long, right? And then we said 65 things when the national conference comes to us. What should we do? And then we said, buoyed by this success, this dedicated team looks forward to working together for the national conference. Once again, visibility. We are not calling out any single person, but these were the facts of what happened. The latest issue of Manage India, like I told you, once again, it is the image of the volunteers. What did I say the fourth one was? Rewards and recognition, recognize regularly. In terms of rewards and recognition, these are some of the things we do. We instituted 2 years back a Volunteer of the Year award. So there are parameters that we have. So we look at a list of people who contributed a lot. It not necessarily is in terms of the number of hours. It could be the importance of the contribution. It could be ideas they came up with unasked, right? So based on that, we came up with a Volunteer of the Year award that you saw on the panel earlier. The Volunteer Hall of Fame is the people who have won Volunteer of the Year award. Bhaskar, if you can get up. Lakshmi, is Lakshmi here? Lakshmi is the latest winner of the Volunteer of the Year award. Bhaskar was last year. Once again, at AGMs, which all chapters do, we hand out plaques saying Chennai chapter owes its success to your valuable contribution in the past year, right? And we also give them a laminated certificate. It involves a little bit of extra work to do it at the AGM, but it is well worth doing. Once again, LinkedIn. I know I spoke about this at our Colombo conference, and Rakesh had a very good point on it. The advantage with LinkedIn, we originally were looking at sending out letters to the bosses. And at that point, so we did a course question. Rakesh said, what happens if the boss thinks you have so much time on your hands that you're not doing office work, you're volunteering, all right? Plus, that goes only to that company, only that boss. The volunteer may quit that company next month. The value of that letter is gone, and we can't keep on giving letters each time a person changes jobs, right? So we said, it was actually Syed who came up with that idea. Syed said, why don't we post a recommendation on LinkedIn? It travels with that person, it is public, it is on the LinkedIn site. We asked them first, so in my case, we said it makes sense for the president to do it. The value is much higher if the president makes this posting. So we told volunteers, this is something we'd like to do. If you want to do, send a LinkedIn request to Karthik. That way we would know that you will accept this recommendation. Even if we do that, they can accept or not display, right? So this is an example for Kaushik, Nandakumar, just an example of some of the recommendations we have posted. Extremely effective, professional. The text remains more or less the same, right? We may make minor modifications to it. It just takes that little bit extra time to log in, enter what your relationship with that person was, how you manage them, what company. It takes 2-3 minutes. But if we have the text in place, right? Here we said it was for the Tamil Nadu conference. Next week we will do it for the national conference, right? And it has a lot of value. We also mentioned things where there is a value for them on the job. How am I doing on time? 15 minutes? Okay. Okay. Sure. So this, for example, was an email I got back from one of the volunteers to whom I had said it. He said, thanks a lot, Karthik. We'll share and shine more. Thanks and regards. So very, very simple email. It shows that he has valued that. And most volunteers really, really value this thing. It is public. It comes from a person in a potentially high position, right? It comes from the president of the chapter, so it has a value. Now, once again, we do Facebook posts. This is something Syed recently did for our national conference when we were there last week. A sincere group of volunteers slugging it out on 5th successive weekend for just to deliver a great experience to attendees. And what he does is he tags people in that photo. When he tags volunteers in the photo, that person's friends are able to see that this person has been doing this. And they may hit like, they may post a comment. I know Suresh has posted comments quite a few times. Tejas has. I've seen Ramam do it. And I've seen some of my friends from the Mumbai chapter who are on my friends list who say, great job. We are confident that this will go well. And the confidence that builds in the team is great. Once again, Parvez, this was after our Tamil Nadu conference in February, where he had posted a photograph and said, team behind the success of this conference. So there Ramam had said, congrats team, all of you have one thing in common, passion, all the best for the World Cup finals, which he meant was this conference today, right? This was something, when we closed registrations for our Tamil Nadu conference, truly a great achievement by a dedicated team, kudos to you. I'm sure all this detailed planning, hard work will pay off, very good conference. I didn't put it in order of date. And this was when we finished the conference where we spoke about that 4-hour session where we did volunteering, right? So that same photo, I said, I have led many successful teams before. I can confidently say I haven't seen total dedication, all of this stuff. And I'm extremely proud. So I said team, this word we usually use, right? Together everyone achieves more. We do the same thing on Twitter, not specific volunteers maybe, but we said renowned hospitality of Leela and the volunteers will be on show at the national conference. Amazing set of dedicated volunteers with real passion. And one of our volunteers, Visu, said, do you know the power of volunteering? Come and see this happen at the conference. Syed is our most frequent tweeter. These are some of the things that he had tweeted. These are just the top posts in the past few days. Right? This was the first slide of my presentation at our AGM on August 19th. The very first slide started with volunteers are key to our success, how they have helped us, how we have been doing a career path. So on that point where I said career path, we learned from the Hyderabad model that it makes sense to have an intermediate level, not jumping right from volunteer to the board. Not that it is not possible. An outstanding person could be a volunteer and they could get elected to the board directly. But AVP becomes one step. So we select, we look at a group of volunteers. It doesn't go against any PMI norms because these people don't go into the DEP because somebody who is not elected can't go into the DEP. So these are people who have the title AVPs. They are attached to a particular portfolio for a year. We look at how they perform. They learn the operations part of it. So tomorrow, when elections come up, they can stand in elections and they could potentially get elected to those positions and help in a strategic board because they have done the operational stuff. So if we can have these people stand up, this is Sriram, Raghavan, whom many of you have spoken to in the past few days. He has arranged transportation for you. By the way, he works in a position equivalent to a CIO in a company, and not a small company. And he has been working on transportation. Venkata Bhaskar, if you can get up, he is our AVP for communications and coordination. He does everything on our chapter website. Nandakumar is also here. Nandakumar is our AVP for membership. Rajshekhar is our AVP for advocacy and outreach. And Rajalakshmi is our AVP for programs and public relations. So we actually have 5 AVPs, right? And the last slide, Tejas, is this was a little controversial. Rakesh remembers, we had some discussions at Colombo also. We actually said, we had people, and I'm sure all chapter boards have had these kind of people who come for the title. They will not attend board meeting, they are prima donnas, they will not do work, they are there on the board naam ke vaste, right? And it hurts the entire board because that workload gets divided across everyone else who is already doing a difficult job. So we actually brought in something where the change in the bylaws came later. We mentioned in our nomination form that in order to qualify, you need to have contributed at least 24 hours, not 24 days, 24 hours of volunteer time in the past 2 years. It works to an average of 1 hour a month, right? If our VP volunteer development doesn't have that track, then your nomination can stand cancelled. Because we are talking about people, and all of us know this, we are talking about people doing 250, 300 hours to the chapter in a year. If somebody hasn't done 1/10 that across 2 years, where are they coming from? The question is, it could be somebody coming from Hyderabad or Mumbai, and we are not saying it has to be with this chapter. If they say they volunteered with the Mumbai chapter or the Hyderabad chapter, we can write to them. We can check up, like for example, Sangeeta, if this role were there, if you have to come to Chennai, right? We would check with Suresh, and Suresh would be able to tell us, right? And this will not come in your way.